Welcome back to Paranightmares, where the night whispers and we listen. If creepy tales and unsettling shadows are your kind of lullaby, you're in the right place. Before we descend into tonight's darkness, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you're from and what time you're watching. After you finish the video, let us know which part made your skin crawl most. I'm watching, and I read everyone. The knocking door. I'm sprawled on a worn couch in my rental house on Cedar Lane, Salem, Oregon. The air chilly, damp, smelling of pine and something sour, like fear seeping through the walls, the stench twisting my gut, making my eyes water. The front door rattles, slow, deliberate knock, casting faint shadows across the hardwood floor. My Nokia flip phone buzzing on the coffee table, a text flashing. Each knock a hammer in my chest. It's June 1st, 2011, 10:15 p.m. My first night in this new place after moving for a teaching job. My hands sore from unpacking boxes, mind frayed from dodging my mom's calls about my risky move. I rented this cozy suburban home last month through a local agency. The landlord, Mr. Hayes, leaving a key under the mat and a note about the furnace, his handwriting shaky, like he was nervous. The house feels off, though, the knocking too rhythmic, like someone's testing me. I've been here since noon, settling in, but the knocks form my name, Claire, echoing in the wood. When the door shakes harder, scratches appearing, my blood freezes, my breath shallow, like the air's turned to ice. The door pulses, my name carved in the frame. Timestamp June 1st, 2011, 10 p.m. The knocks thudding, smelling of rot, spelling my secrets, lying about my qualifications, skipping my brother's wedding, my fear of being alone in Salem's quiet. I touch the door, hands trembling, fingers brushing splintered wood, but the back door rattles, my name clearer, scratches deeper, forming my silhouette in the grain, eyes hollow, mouth gaping. My friend, Sam, texts my phone, voice panicked. "Claire, someone's at your door, it's glowing." It's timestamp May 31st, 2011, 10:25 p.m., with a photo of my front window, my shadow inside, my name in the scratches, pulsing alive. The air thickens, doors shaking, shadows stretching, knocks chanting my name, hungry, like something ancient trapped in the wood, clawing to get in. I check the windows, my sneakers squeaking on the floor, heart pounding like a drum. They're locked, but claw marks scar the sills, my name in the glass, splinters trailing like veins, whispering Claire in a low, guttural rasp. A shadow moves outside, too tall, eyes glowing red through the curtains, claw marks trailing, hissing my name. I dial Mr. Hayes' number, fingers slipping, but his voice crackles. "Claire, don't open the door." His tone sharp, unlike his friendly emails. My phone buzzes, a voicemail from an unknown number, a knocking chant of my name, mixed with my own breathing, recorded inside the house, like the walls are listening. My skin stings, cuts opening on my arms, blood seeping, like the door's hunger is slicing me. My pulse a frantic drumbeat matching the knocks. Sam texts, "I'm coming over." But the TV flickers on, unplugged, showing the living room, doors rattling, my name in the scratches, splinters swirling alive. The house hums, walls vibrating, shadows curling into clawing hands, my name in their grip, my thoughts fraying, my mom's worry, failing my students, my fear of being trapped, pulling me deeper, the door's hunger a trap snapping shut. I'm trembling, pacing the hallway, the knocking louder, my name a thud, like hammers in my skull. It's 10:50 p.m., the house silent except for the door's pulse, but the TV glitches, showing the bedroom, doors glowing, my name etched in the wood, scratches dripping alive. I grab a flashlight, its beam shaky, heart pounding, and creep upstairs, the stairs creaking, air thick with that rotting stench, like with decaying. The bedroom door is scarred, my name pulsing in the grain, splinters forming my face, eyes wide, mouth bleeding. I touch it, with cutting my hands, blood oozing, my name knocking louder a taunt. The attic door rattles, my name carved deeper, shadows moving, forming my body, limbs clawing, fingers scratching. I call Sam, voice breaking. The doors are alive. He's skeptical, texting, "Claire, it's just vandals." I know it's paranormal. The door's unnatural, tied to something ravenous, feeding on my shame, my guilt, my fear of isolation. I search the house, flashlight cutting through the dark, heart hammering, sweat beading on my forehead. I find a locked basement door, my name scratched in the wood, splinters hissing, spelling breached in jagged lines. I pry it open with a crowbar, flashlight shaking, revealing a pile of broken door frames, each etched with my name. Timestamp June 1st, 2011, pulsing faintly like heartbeats. Sam arrives, banging the front door. "Claire, let me in." But the knocking drowns him, splinters rising, slashing my skin, my name bleeding in the cuts. I show him the basement, his face paling, eyes wide. "We need the cops." But Salem police won't believe living doors. The air grows colder, splinters thickening, claws stretching, my name in the wood, the house alive, my curiosity a chain, the door's hunger growing, my thoughts unraveling, my brother's anger, my broken promises, my dread of being alone. It's 12:05 a.m., the knocking deafening, a thudding roar, the house shaking, doors pulsing, splinters swirling, forming faces mine Sam's, eyes glowing red, claws reaching, my name blazing in the scratches. I drag Sam to the living room, pointing at the doors, now rattling violently, my name in their patterns, a storm of terror. He screams, "This isn't real!" But a splinter slashes his arm, blood streaming, my name in the wound, red and raw. We call the police, my voice trembling, but Officer Reed scoffs. "Kids pranking? File a report." I try Mr. Hayes again, his voice sharper. "You touched the basement, Claire." The doors grow stronger, their knocks a scream, my name pulsing, shadows slashing, my name in their bite, my skin bleeding, splinters mixing with blood. Sam and I barricade the bedroom, my breathing ragged, splinters seeping under, spelling my name in jagged streaks. I find a carpenter's number, Mr. Cole, in a tattered phone book, and call, begging him to come, my voice hoarse. He arrives at 1:40 a.m., June 2nd, 2011, his face skeptical, toolbox clanking, but the splinters swarm, claws snapping, blood dripping, my name glowing in their eyes. He tries prying the doors, but the knocks laugh, a thudding cackle, echoing my secrets, my lies, my failures, my fear of being trapped, proving they're not just wood, but something ancient, feeding on my soul. Sam, bleeding, shouts, "Burn the doors!" But the splinters multiply, wood coiling, my name in the pile, the house shaking, walls splintering, my thoughts, my mom's worry, my broken trust, my isolation, fueling their power. Mr. Cole flees, yelling, "This isn't carpentry," leaving us. The doors unstoppable, their knocks a scream, my name locking us into a fight we can't win. It's 3 a.m., the splinters crawling, claws chattering, blood streaming, the house a maze of rattling wood, my name everywhere, pulsing alive. Sam and I stumble to the basement, splinters swarming, claws slashing, blood splattering, my name bleeding in the wounds. We find a scarred doorframe, its wood glowing, and I smash it with an axe, splinters shattering, screams echoing my name, but more frames rattle, claws cutting my legs, blood pooling, my name carved in my flesh, raw and weeping. Sam swings a hammer, smashing wood, blood hissing, but it reforms, the knocks louder, my secrets feeding their hunger. I find a frame with my face, claws grabbing my skin, my name blazing in its grain, and I realize it's my fear, my guilt, anchoring me to this nightmare. I douse it with paint thinner, screaming, the wood dissolving, the house stilling, claws fading, my name silenced. The splinters fall, but a faint knock lingers in my ears, my name a hum in my bones, like a door that won't stay shut. Dawn breaks, June 2nd, 2011, 6:25 a.m. The house quiet, Salem's fog rolling in, my legs bleeding, arms raw, the knocking gone. Neighbors gather, muttering about vandalism, their eyes clear, No splinters, no scratches. Sam's arm is bandaged and he grips my shoulder. We're okay, Claire. I leave the keys under the mat. Mr. Hayes unreachable, his agency phone disconnected. At home, I avoid doors, my skin tingling, my name faintly scratching in every hinge. I become a locksmith, mastering bolts, moving to Portland, but every rattling door makes my heart race. My name a faint knock in my ears, a breach I can't lock out. Sometimes, in the quiet, my reflection in a window scratches, my name pulsing in my eyes, a door that follows me, whispering my sins. The knock at midnight. The rain had been falling in sheets for hours, drumming against the roof of Clara's small farmhouse on the outskirts of town. The old house, inherited from her grandmother, sat alone on a stretch of county road, surrounded by fields of corn that swayed like an ocean in the storm. Clara liked the isolation most days. It gave her space to think, to paint, to escape the noise of the world. But tonight, the solitude felt like a weight pressing down on her chest. She sat at her kitchen table, a mug of tea gone cold, sketching absent-mindedly in her notebook. The clock on the wall read 11:52 p.m. The power had flickered earlier, but the lights held steady now, casting a warm glow over the cluttered room. Her dog, Rusty, a scruffy mutt with one bad eye, lay curled up by the back door, snoring softly. Clara glanced at him, envying his peace. She couldn't shake the unease that had settled in her gut since dusk, when she'd read an article online about home invasions. Real stories of strangers slipping into houses, some pretending to need help, others brazenly breaking in. One story, about a man who knocked on a woman's door claiming to be lost, only to return later with a knife, had stuck with her. She checked the locks twice before sitting down. A knock came at the front door. Clara's pencil froze mid-stroke. Rusty's head snapped up, his good eye fixed on the door across the house. The knock came again, 3 sharp raps, deliberate, unhurried. Clara's heart thudded. Who would be out here, miles from town, in this weather? She set the pencil down, her hands trembling, and stood, moving quietly toward the living room. The front door was solid oak, with a small peephole she rarely used. She pressed her eye to it. A man stood on her porch, rain dripping from the hood of his jacket. He was tall, his face shadowed, but she could make out a scruffy beard and eyes that seemed to glint in the dim porch light. He raised his hand and knocked again, harder this time. Rusty growled low in his throat, hackles rising. "Hello," the man called, his voice muffled by the rain. "I'm sorry to bother you, ma'am. My car broke down up the road. Can I use your phone?" Clara's stomach twisted. It was exactly like the story she'd read. She backed away from the door, her mind racing. Her phone was on the kitchen table, but calling the police now might escalate things. What if he heard her? What if he wasn't alone? She glanced at Rusty, who was now standing, his teeth bared. I don't have a phone," she called back, her voice cracking. It was a lie, and a bad one. She winced, hoping he'd buy it. There was a pause, long enough to make her think he'd left. Then, his voice came again, closer to the door, almost pressed against it. "That's okay. Maybe you've got some tools? I just need a wrench to fix my tire. I'll be quick." Clara's mouth went dry. A wrench? Who asks for a wrench in the middle of a storm? She crept back to the kitchen, grabbing her phone and dialing 911. The operator picked up after 2 rings. 911, what's your emergency?" "There's a man at my door," Clara whispered, crouching behind the counter. "He says his car broke down, but I don't trust him. I'm alone out here." "Stay calm," the operator said. "Can you confirm your address?" Clara gave it, her eyes locked on the back door. Rusty was pacing now, his growls growing louder. The operator promised police were on the way, but the nearest station was 20 minutes out, even in good weather. Clara's heart sank. She clutched the phone, listening for any sound from the front door. The knocking stopped. Silence filled the house, broken only by the rain and Rusty's low growls. Clara dared to hope the man had left, but then she heard it. A faint scrape from the back door, the one Rusty was guarding. The handle jiggled, slow and deliberate, like someone testing it. Rusty erupted into barks, lunging at the door. "Ma'am, are you still there?" the operator asked. "He's at the back door now," Clara hissed, her voice barely audible. She grabbed a knife from the drawer, her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped it. The jiggling stopped, but a new sound replaced it, a soft, rhythmic tapping, like fingers drumming on the glass pane of the door's window. Clara's blood ran cold. She could picture him out there, standing in the rain, staring through the glass. "Officers are en route," the operator said. "Can you get to a safe room?" The bathroom had a lock, but it was down the hall, too far from Rusty. She couldn't leave him. "I'm staying put," she whispered, crouching lower. Rusty's barks grew frantic, and then, abruptly, he stopped. Clara's heart skipped. She peeked over the counter. Rusty was staring at the door, ears flat, tail still. Then the lights went out. Clara stifled a gasp. The house plunged into darkness, the only light coming from the faint glow of her phone screen. The storm hadn't knocked out the power earlier. It had to be deliberate. She fumbled with the phone, switching to the flashlight, but it only made the shadows sharper, more menacing. The tapping resumed, faster now, insistent. "Clara," a voice called from outside, low and calm. "I just need a little help. Open the door." She froze. She hadn't told him her name. How did he know her name? Her mind raced back to the article. Intruders who'd watched their targets, learned their routines. Had he been watching her? The thought made her skin crawl. She gripped the knife tighter, backing toward the hallway. Rusty followed, his growls resuming. The tapping turned into a knock, then a thud, like a shoulder hitting the door. Clara's breath hitched. She whispered to the operator, "He's trying to break in." "Stay hidden," the operator urged. "Police are 10 minutes out." 10 minutes. It might as well have been an hour. The thudding grew louder, the door frame creaking under the force. Clara bolted for the bathroom, Rusty at her heels, and locked the door. She wedged herself into the corner, the knife in one hand, the phone in the other. Rusty pressed against her, trembling but silent. The thudding stopped. Silence again, heavy and oppressive. Clara strained to hear anything, footsteps, glass breaking, anything. Then a new sound, a faint creak from the living room, like the floorboards underweight. Her heart stopped. He was inside. "Clara," the voice called again, closer now, inside the house. "I don't want to hurt you. Just come out." Tears stung her eyes. She clutched Rusty, who was growling again, his body tense. The creaking moved closer, stopping just outside the bathroom door. The knob rattled, slow at first, then harder. Clara bit her lip to keep from screaming. Then a crash, glass shattering somewhere in the house. Shouts followed, loud and authoritative. "Police! Drop any weapons!" Flashlights swept under the door's crack, and Clara nearly collapsed with relief. The operator's voice crackled. "Ma'am, officers are in your home. Stay where you are." It took another eternity before a knock came. "Miss Thompson, it's Officer Hayes. You're safe." Clara opened the door, shaking, and saw 2 officers in her hallway. They'd caught the man in the living room, trying to flee through a broken window. He'd cut the power at the breaker outside and picked the back door's lock. They found a duffel bag in his car, rope, duct tape, a flashlight. He'd been watching her for weeks, they said, after finding her name on a package left on her porch. Clara didn't sleep that night. She sat in the kitchen, Rusty at her feet, staring at the front door. The rain had stopped, but the silence was worse. She kept the knife close, just in case. The flame that knows. I'm stirring a pot of chili in my cramped apartment kitchen on Maple Avenue, Omaha, Nebraska. The air thick with cumin and a faint charred smell, like something's burning beneath the stove. My Motorola flip phone's on the counter, buzzing with a text from my co-worker, but the screen flickers, low battery. It's June 6th, 2011, 8:05 p.m. My 5th night here after moving for a call center job, my wrist sore from typing, my mind buzzing from dodging my brother's calls about a loan I never repaid. I found this affordable gem on a sketchy rental site. The landlord, Mr. Vaughn, handing me keys with a tight smile and a warning. Don't mess with the stove. His eyes lingered, like he knew something I didn't. The apartment feels wrong, too warm, like it's cooking me. I've been here since last Wednesday, answering calls, but tonight, a faint scraping comes from the kitchen window, like metal on glass, followed by a low hiss. Mara, you broke your promise. My spoon clatters into the pot, chili splashing, the charred smell choking me, like the stove's alive. The scraping sharpens, like a knife carving wood. Timestamp June 6th, 2011, 8:15 p.m. The air heavy with smoke, whispering my secrets, skipping my brother's loan, lying to my boss, my fear of being stuck in Omaha's gray sprawl. I check the window, my hands trembling, the glass fogged, my name etched in soot, the hiss louder. Mara, pay up. A shadow moves outside, too thin, like a burned silhouette, eyes glowing orange. My co-worker Lena texts, Mara, saw someone at your window. Timestamp June 5th, 2011, 8:30 p.m. with a blurry photo of my apartment, a figure by the stove, my name in flames. The scraping grows, the stove's burners flaring blue, unlit, hissing my name, like something betrayed lives in the flames, feeding on my guilt. I bolt the window, my fingers slick with sweat, breath catching like I've sprinted a mile. The door's locked, but the stove hums, heat pulsing, my name flickering in the flames. I call Mr. Vaughn, my voice shaky, but his line crackles, his tone sharp. Mara, leave the stove alone. It's not his usual gruff emails. My phone buzzes, a voicemail from an unknown number, a fiery hiss chanting my name, mixed with my own voice begging for money, recorded inside, like the stove's listening. My skin burns, red welts forming, like scorch marks, my breath sinking with the hissing. Lena texts, I'm coming over. But the oven door creaks open, flames licking out, forming my face, eyes blazing. The apartment shakes, the scraping louder, flames curling, my fears, my brother's anger, my shaky job, my dread of being nothing, fueling the fire's hunger. I'm frozen, the flames roaring, hissing, Mara, you owe me. It's 9:40 p.m., the kitchen glowing red, heat choking me. I grab a fire extinguisher, its nozzle stuck, and the flames leap, spelling my name in the air. Lena arrives, pounding the door. Mara, open it. But the flames block her, welts burning my arms, my name in the scars. I call 911, my voice cracking. Someone's breaking in, but the operator yawns. Sounds like a prank. I scream, it's murder, and they promise a patrol. The flames surge, forming hands, my name in their grip. Lena breaks in, her face pale. What's burning? Omaha police won't buy haunted stove. The air thickens, flames whispering, liar dead or alive, my thoughts spiraling, my brother's loan, my lies, my fear of fading, feeding the fire's rage. It's 11:10 p.m. Flames are inferno, the apartment trembling, my name blazing on the walls. I drag Lena to the kitchen, pointing at the stove, now pulsing with fire, my name in the flames, cage of heat. She screams, this isn't normal. A spark burns her hand, my name in the wound. I try Mr. Vaughn again, his voice ice. You used the stove, Mara. The flames roar, welts oozing, my skin blistering. I find a plumber's number, Mr. Tate, in a phone book, and call, pleading for help. He arrives at 12:50 a.m., June 7th, 2011, tools clanking, but the flames swarm, hands scorching, my name glowing in their eyes. He tries shutting off the gas, but the hiss laughs, echoing my secrets, my unpaid debts, my lies, my fear of being trapped, proving it's not just fire, but something ancient, feeding on my betrayal. Lena, burned, shouts, put out! But the flames multiply, the apartment cracking, my thoughts, my brother's pain, my job, my isolation, fueling their power. Mr. Tate flees, yelling, this ain't plumbing. It's 2:30 a.m., the flames writhing, hands hissing, the apartment a furnace, my name everywhere alive. Lena and I stumble to the stove, burn stinging, flames slashing, my name in the welts. The oven door swings open, revealing a figure, charred, faceless, its body a mass of embers, my name pulsing in its chest. I grab a bucket, dousing the stove with water, flames shrieking, steam rising, but more fire erupts, hands tearing my arms, my name burned to my skin. Lena sprays the extinguisher, flames hissing, but they reform, the hiss louder, my secrets their fuel. I find a knob on the stove, my name etched in soot, and I realize my betrayal is the key. I smash the knob with a hammer, dousing the flames with water, the fire collapsing, the apartment stilling, my name silenced. The air clears, but my burns throb, my name a faint ache in my scars, like a spark that won't die. Sunrise hits June 7th, 2011, 6:20 a.m. The apartment cold. Omaha streets quiet, my arms scarred, hands shaking, the flames gone. Neighbors whisper about a gas leak. The home's untouched, no burns. Lena's hand is bandaged and she grips my shoulder. We survived, Mara. I leave the keys on the counter. Mr. Vaughn's number dead, his sight gone. I move to a new apartment, start therapy, facing my debts, but every flicker of heat makes me flinch. My name a faint burn in my mind, a flame I can't douse. At night, my stove's reflection shows embers, my name faintly glowing, a fire I can't escape, tied to my guilt. The neighbor's key. The apartment building on 14th Street was a relic, with creaky elevators and peeling wallpaper, but it was home. For Marcus, a grad student scraping by on a teaching assistant stipend, the cheap rent was worth the quirks. His studio on the 5th floor was cramped but cozy, with a view of the city skyline that almost made up for the noisy neighbors. He'd lived there for 2 years, long enough to know the rhythms of the building. The clatter of Mrs. Nguyen's cooking at dawn, the thump of Jake's music downstairs, the occasional argument from the couple in 5B. But tonight, the building was unnaturally quiet. Marcus sat at his desk, grading papers under the flicker of a desk lamp. It was just past 10 p.m., and the city outside hummed with distant traffic. He'd been on edge all day, ever since reading an article about home invasions, stories of strangers slipping into homes, some posing as neighbors or deliverymen. One account, about a man who used a stolen key to enter a woman's apartment, had hit too close to home. Marcus had checked his deadbolt twice before settling in, but the unease lingered. A soft knock came at his door. Marcus froze, pen hovering over a student's essay. He wasn't expecting anyone. His girlfriend, Lena, was out of town, and his friends knew better than to show up unannounced. He set the pen down, his pulse quickening, and tiptoed to the door. The peephole showed a man in a hoodie, head down, holding something small in his hand. Marcus squinted. It looked like a key. "Hey, man," the stranger called, voice muffled but friendly. "It's Tom from 5C. I locked myself out. Can you buzz me into the hall?" Marcus hesitated. He met Tom once, maybe twice. A quiet guy who kept to himself. But something felt off. The voice didn't match the vague memory of Tom's nasally tone. And why would he need to be buzzed in if he was already at Marcus's door? The building's main entrance required a fob, but the hallway was open to residents. Hang on," Marcus called, buying time. He grabbed his phone and texted Tom's number, saved from a group chat about a building water shutoff last month. "Hey, you at my door?" He waited, watching the peephole. The man shifted, glancing down the hall, but didn't check his phone. No reply. Marcus's stomach churned. He dialed 911, keeping his voice low. "There's someone at my door claiming to be my neighbor," he whispered to the operator. "I don't think it's him." "Stay calm, sir," the operator said. "Can you confirm your address?" Marcus gave it, his eyes glued to the door. The man knocked again, harder. "Come on, man, it's cold out here. Just let me in for a sec." Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Tom. "Nah, I'm at work. Night shift. What's up?" His blood ran cold. He whispered to the operator. "It's not my neighbor. He's lying." "Officers are on their way," the operator said. "Can you secure the door?" Marcus checked the deadbolt and chain, both locked. He backed away, grabbing a baseball bat from under his bed. The knocking stopped, replaced by a faint scratching, like metal on metal. He realized with a jolt what the man was holding, a key, scraping at the lock. His mind flashed to the article. The intruder who'd gotten a key, maybe from a landlord or a lost set. Marcus had never changed his locks when he moved in. The scratching grew louder, rhythmic, deliberate. Marcus clutched the bat, his palms sweaty. The operator's voice was steady, but it did little to calm him. Police are 8 minutes out. Stay on the line. 8 minutes. Marcus's apartment was small, nowhere to hide except the bathroom, and even that felt exposed with its flimsy lock. He crept to the kitchenette, crouching behind the counter. The scratching stopped, and for a moment silence. Then a click. The deadbolt turned. Marcus's heart stopped. The chain caught, rattling as the door pushed against it. "Come on, man," the voice said, now low, almost a growl. "I just need to talk." Marcus didn't answer. He gripped the bat, his phone pressed to his ear. The door shook again, harder, the chain straining. Rusty hinges groaned. He pictured the man forcing his way in, the chain snapping like thread. The operator's voice faded into background noise as panic took over. A loud thud hit the door, then another. Marcus bolted for the bathroom, slamming the door and locking it. He shoved a towel under the gap, his hands shaking. The thudding continued, each hit vibrating through the walls. Then silence again. Too long, too heavy. He held his breath, listening. A faint creak came from the living room, floorboards unmistakable. The chain had held, hadn't it? He strained to hear, his heart pounding in his ears. Then a whisper, so close it might have been in the room. "Marcus." He stifled a gasp. How did he know his name? The article's stories flooded back. Intruders who stalked their targets, learned their lives. Had this man been watching him? The thought made his skin crawl. He clutched the bat, ready to swing if the door gave way. Footsteps now, slow and deliberate, circling the apartment. A glass clinked in the kitchenette, his coffee mug left on the counter. The footsteps stopped outside the bathroom door. Marcus's phone buzzed, the operator's voice cutting through. "Officers are entering the building. Stay where you are." The doorknob rattled, slow at first, then violent. Marcus backed into the shower, the bat raised. The rattling stopped, replaced by a soft tapping, like fingernails on wood. "I know you're in there," the voice said, calm, almost amused. Marcus's legs felt like jelly. He whispered to the operator. "He's inside. He's at the door." "Officers are on your floor," the operator said. "Hold on." A crash came from the living room, shattering glass, followed by shouts. "Police. Hands up." Marcus nearly dropped the phone. Flashlights swept under the door's gap, and the footsteps retreated, fast and heavy. A scuffle, then silence. "Mr. Reynolds?" a voice called. "It's Officer Patel. You're safe now." Marcus unlocked the door, trembling, and saw 2 officers in his living room. The front door hung open, the chain dangling, half broken. They'd caught the man climbing out the fire escape. He had a key, stolen from the landlord's office, they later learned, and a bag with zip ties and a knife. He'd been in the building before, posing as a maintenance worker, watching Marcus for weeks. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He sat on his couch, bat across his lap, staring at the door. The landlord promised new locks, but Marcus was already looking for a new place. The city's hum wasn't comforting anymore. The wrong house. The cul-de-sac on Maple Drive was a postcard of suburban perfection. Neat lawns, kids' bikes leaning against garages, and streetlights casting a soft glow over picket fences. Sarah and Dan Ellison had moved into their ranch-style house a year ago, drawn by the promise of a quiet life in a neighborhood where everyone knew each other's names. Sarah, a part-time graphic designer, loved the rhythm of the place. Morning jogs past Mrs. Carter's rose garden, waves to the kids playing tag, the hum of sprinklers on summer evenings. Dan, a sales rep, was often away for work, leaving Sarah to savor the house's cozy corners alone. But tonight, with Dan on a business trip until Sunday, The neighborhood felt less like a haven and more like a stage set, too still, too silent. Sarah sat on the living room couch, her book, a thriller about a stalked woman, splayed open on her lap. The clock on the mantel ticked toward 1 a.m., its steady rhythm barely audible over the hum of the air conditioner. She'd been restless all day, haunted by an article she'd read that morning on her phone. Real home invasion stories, each one more chilling than the last. One story, about a man who broke into a house thinking it was his ex-girlfriend's, only to terrorize the wrong family, had burrowed into her mind. She checked every lock, front door, back door, garage, even the windows, before settling in. But the unease clung to her like damp cloth. The house, with its open floor plan and large windows, felt too exposed. The curtains too thin to block out the night. A thud echoed from the garage. Sarah's breath caught, the book slipping to the floor. The sound was heavy, deliberate, like a toolbox dropped on concrete. She froze, her eyes darting to the hallway that led to the garage door. The house was old, prone to groans and creaks, but this was different, too solid, too real. She waited, straining to hear over the pounding in her chest. Another thud, softer, like something being dragged across the floor. Her mind flashed to the article. Intruders who targeted homes at random, some stumbling into the wrong address with violent intentions. She grabbed her phone from the coffee table, her fingers trembling as she opened the security app linked to their doorbell and garage cameras. The front porch feed loaded first, empty. The cul-de-sac bathed in the sodium glow of streetlights, a neighbor's cat darting across the lawn. She swiped to the garage camera. The screen was black, the words "camera offline" blinking in red. Her stomach dropped. They'd installed the system 6 months ago, and it had never failed before. She refreshed the app, praying it was a glitch. Still black. Her hand shook as she dialed 911, keeping her voice low. "I heard something in my garage," she whispered to the operator, her eyes fixed on the hallway. "I think someone's there. My camera's down." "Stay calm, ma'am," the operator said, her voice steady but distant. "Can you confirm your address?" Sarah rattled off the address, her mind racing. The garage door was manual, heavy, not the kind to move on its own. It was locked, but the lock was just a standard knob, not a deadbolt, something Dan had meant to upgrade but never did. She cursed herself for not pushing him on it. The noise was loud, she added, her voice barely audible, like something heavy fell. "Officers are dispatched," the operator said. "Can you get to a safe place? Somewhere with a lock." Sarah glanced around. The bedroom upstairs had a sturdy lock and a window she could climb out if needed. She stood, her bare feet silent on the hardwood, and crept toward the stairs, clutching her phone. The house was dark except for the glow of a table lamp, casting long shadows across the walls. Every creak of the floorboards felt like a betrayal, announcing her movement. She reached the stairs, her hand on the banister, when another sound stopped her, a faint clank, like metal on metal, from the garage. She froze, her heart hammering. The article stories flooded back, intruders cutting power, disabling alarms, slipping in through overlooked entries. Was that why the camera was offline? She checked her phone again, refreshing the app. Still black. Her thumb hovered over Dan's number, but she hesitated. He was hours away, powerless to help. Instead, she texted him, heard something in the garage, called 911. Scared, she hit send, the message a small anchor to reality. The operator's voice pulled her back. "Ma'am, are you in a safe place?" "I'm going to the bedroom," Sarah whispered, taking the stairs slowly, her eyes darting to the hallway below. The garage door was out of sight now, but she pictured it, imagining the lock giving way. She reached the bedroom, slipped inside, and locked the door, her hand shaking so badly she fumbled the key. The room was small, with a queen bed, a dresser, and a window overlooking the backyard. She pushed the dresser against the door, the wood scraping loudly, and sank to the floor, her back against it. The phone's glow was her only light, the operator's voice her only lifeline. "Officers are 12 minutes out," the operator said. "Stay quiet and keep the line open." 12 minutes. It felt like an eternity in a house that suddenly seemed too big, too vulnerable. Sarah's eyes flicked to the window, the curtains drawn but swaying slightly, as if stirred by a draft. She hadn't opened any windows. Her breath hitched. She pulled her knees to her chest, the phone pressed to her ear, and listened. The house was silent now, but it wasn't comforting. It was the kind of silence that hid things, like the moment before a predator strikes. A creak came from downstairs, sharp and unmistakable, like a footstep on the living room's hardwood. Sarah's heart stopped. The garage door was locked. She checked it. How could anyone be inside? She held her breath, straining to hear. Another creak, closer, at the base of the stairs. Her mind raced, replaying every lock she'd checked, every window she'd secured. Had she missed one? The article mentioned a case where an intruder slipped through a forgotten basement window. Their house didn't have a basement, but the garage had a side window, small, but big enough if someone was determined. She whispered to the operator, "I hear footsteps. They're inside the house." "Stay where you are," the operator said, her tone urgent but controlled. "Can you barricade the door?" "It's barricaded," Sarah said, her voice trembling. She checked the dresser, pressing her weight against it. The footsteps moved up the stairs now, slow and deliberate, each one a hammer against her nerves. She pictured the man from the article, convinced he'd found his ex's house, only to terrorize a stranger. Was this a mistake, or something more deliberate? The thought made her skin crawl. The footsteps stopped outside the bedroom door. Sarah's breath caught, her body rigid. The knob turned, slow at first, then harder, the lock rattling but holding. A soft knock followed, almost polite, chilling in its calmness. "Sarah," a man's voice said, low and unfamiliar, carrying a faint drawl. "I think I got the wrong house. Can we talk?" She didn't answer. Her hand clamped over her mouth to stifle a sob. Her name. How did he know her name? The article's story about targeted intrusions flashed through her mind. Had he been watching her? The neighborhood was friendly, but she'd noticed a car parked down the street a few times, unfamiliar, idling too long. She'd brushed it off as paranoia. Now it felt like a warning ignored. The knocking grew louder, more insistent, each rap vibrating through the dresser. "I just need to explain," the voice said, sharper now, edged with frustration. "Open the door, Sarah." Her phone buzzed, Dan's reply, "Stay safe. Police on their way. I'm calling them too." She couldn't type back, her hands trembling too much. The operator's voice cut through. "Officers are 10 minutes out. Stay hidden." The banging intensified, the door shaking, the dresser sliding an inch. Sarah pushed back, her feet slipping on the carpet, her muscles burning. "He's trying to get in," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. The wood groaned, the lock straining under the force. She pictured the door splintering, the man stepping through, his face shadowed but his intent clear. A new sound, a faint click from the window. Sarah's head snapped toward it. The curtains swayed again, more noticeably, and a shadow flickered behind them, tall and still. Her blood ran cold. Was there another person outside? The article hadn't mentioned accomplices, but the thought paralyzed her. The banging stopped, replaced by silence, heavy and oppressive. She strained to hear, her heart pounding in her ears. Then, the voice again, closer, as if pressed against the door. "I know you're in there," it said, almost a whisper, laced with something like amusement. Sarah bit her lip, holding back a scream. The shadow at the window moved, and a soft scrape came, like fingers testing the frame. She realized with horror that the window lock was old, loose. She'd meant to replace it, but hadn't. The operator's voice was a faint hum now, drowned out by her panic. 8 minutes, she heard, but it felt meaningless. The scraping grew louder, the window creaking as if being pried open. Sarah grabbed a lamp from the nightstand, unplugging it and holding it like a club, her phone pressed to her ear with her shoulder. The dresser slid another inch, and she pushed back, sobbing quietly. A crash shattered the silence, glass breaking downstairs, followed by shouts. "Police, show yourself." Sarah's knees buckled, relief flooding her. Flashlights swept through the house, their beams visible under the door's gap. The footsteps retreated, heavy and fast, followed by a scuffle and a yell. "Get down," an officer shouted. A thud, like a body hitting the floor. "Ma'am, officers are in the house," the operator said. "Stay put until they confirm it's safe." Minutes dragged like hours. A knock came at the bedroom door. "Mrs. Ellison, it's Officer Reed. You can come out." Sarah hesitated, her body trembling. She moved the dresser, her arms aching, and unlocked the door. Two officers stood in the hallway, their flashlights illuminating the dark house. The front window was shattered, glass glittering on the living room floor. They'd caught the man in the garage, trying to flee through a side door. He cut the camera's wire and pried open the garage's side window, thinking it was his ex-girlfriend's house, a woman who lived 2 streets over with a similar ranch-style home. He had a crowbar, duct tape, and a crumpled list of addresses. Sarah scrawled among them, likely copied from a delivery label left on her porch. The officer stayed until dawn, taking her statement. Sarah sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the broken window. Dan drove home that day, cutting his trip short. They moved out a month later, unable to shake the feeling that the house wasn't theirs anymore. The cul-de-sac's charm had faded, replaced by the memory of footsteps in the dark, a voice that knew her name, and the chilling realization that safety was an illusion. The Window Watcher. The cabin was Jenna Harper's escape, a sanctuary from the grind of teaching English at a community college in Ann Arbor. Tucked deep in the woods of northern Michigan, the rental cabin overlooked a frozen lake, its icy surface glinting under the moon. Jenna had arrived that afternoon, her SUV packed with books, a laptop, and enough coffee to fuel a week of writing her novel. The cabin was rustic, stone fireplace, creaky floors, windows that rattled in the wind, but its isolation was exactly what she craved. No Wi-Fi, spotty cell service, just her and her thoughts. But now, at 2 a.m., the solitude felt like a trap. She'd been restless all evening, unable to shake an article she'd read before leaving home. Real home invasion stories, each one a nightmare. One about a woman who woke to a stranger staring through her bedroom window, had lodged in her mind like a splinter. Jenna had drawn every curtain, checked every lock, and turned off the lights to avoid drawing attention. But sleep wouldn't come. She lay in the cabin's only bedroom, the quilt pulled to her chin, listening to the wind howl through the pines. Every creak of the old wood, every snap of a branch, sounded like a threat. A tap came at the bedroom window. Jenna's eyes snapped open, her heart lurching. The sound was sharp, distinct, not the wind's random chatter. She held her breath, waiting, praying it was a branch or ice falling from the eaves. Another tap, then a scrape, like nails dragging across glass. The curtains were thick flannel, but she felt exposed, as if eyes were boring through them. She fumbled for her phone on the nightstand. The screen's glow harsh in the dark. One bar of signal flickered. She dialed 911, her fingers clumsy, her breath shallow. 911, what's your emergency? The operator asked, voice crackling through the weak connection. Someone's outside my cabin, Jenna whispered, pulling the quilt tighter. They're tapping on the window. Address, please, the operator said, her tone calm but urgent. Jenna gave the cabin's address, her eyes fixed on the curtain. The tapping stopped, and the silence was worse, heavy with anticipation. She pictured the man from the article, face pressed to the glass, watching her sleep. I'm alone, she added, her voice breaking. It's remote out here. Officers are dispatched, the operator said. It's a rural area, so it'll be about 20 minutes. Can you secure the room? 20 minutes. Jenna's stomach twisted. The cabin was small, 1 bedroom, a living room with a fireplace, a tiny kitchen, and a bathroom. The front door had a deadbolt, but the windows were old, their locks flimsy. She slid out of bed, her bare feet cold on the pine floor, and grabbed the fire poker from the living room fireplace. Its weight was reassuring, but her hands shook as she returned to the bedroom, locking the door behind her. The lock was a simple knob, not a deadbolt, and the door felt too thin to hold against force. The tapping resumed, faster, almost rhythmic, like a code. Jenna crouched by the bed, clutching the poker, her phone pressed to her ear. The operator's voice was a lifeline, but couldn't drown out the sound. "They're still out there," she whispered, her voice barely audible over her pounding heart. "Stay hidden," the operator said. "Keep the line open." Jenna's eyes darted to the curtain. A shadow moved behind it, faint but unmistakable, a tall, hunched silhouette, motionless except for the slight tilt of its head. Her breath caught. The tapping stopped, replaced by a slow, deliberate scratching, like a blade or tool testing the glass. She imagined the window giving way, the figure slipping inside, silent and purposeful. The article's story replayed in her mind. The intruder who watched for hours before acting, patient, calculating. She crept to the door, checking the lock, then moved to the living room to confirm the front door's deadbolt. The cabin was dark, the only light from her phone's flashlight, casting stark shadows across the walls. The fireplace was cold, the embers long dead. She checked the windows, locked, but the frames were warped, some loose enough to rattle in the wind. She returned to the bedroom, her steps silent, and barricaded the door with a chair, wedging it under the knob. It felt futile, but it was something. The scratching paused, and a voice came, low and muffled through the window. "I see you." Jenna's blood ran cold. She dropped to the floor, the poker slipping in her sweaty grip. The voice was calm, almost conversational, but it carried a weight that made her skin crawl. She pictured the figure outside, face inches from the glass, eyes locked on her through some unseen gap. The operator's voice droned on, urging her to stay calm, but panic clawed at her chest. "He spoke," she whispered. "He said he sees me." "Officers are 15 minutes out," the operator said. "Stay low, stay quiet." 15 minutes. Jenna's mind raced. She'd chosen this cabin for its remoteness, a place to disconnect, but now it felt like a prison. She thought of her students, her colleagues, her parents back in Ann Arbor, people who wouldn't know she was gone until it was too late. The scratching resumed, slower, more deliberate, like the intruder was savoring her fear. A loud bang came from the living room, the front door. Jenna stifled a scream, her body trembling. The deadbolt was locked, she checked it, but the sound was unmistakable, like a shoulder hitting wood. Footsteps followed, heavy, inside the cabin. How? She'd secured everything. Her mind flashed to the article. An intruder who'd pried open a window, silent until it was too late. The cabin's bathroom window was small, but not impossible to breach. The bedroom door rattled, the knob turning slowly. Jenna grabbed her phone, the call still active, and whispered, "He's inside. He's at the door." "Stay calm," the operator said, her voice strained. "Officers are 10 minutes away." The rattling grew violent, the chair shifting under the force. Jenna backed into the corner, the poker raised, her body pressed against the wall. The voice came again, closer, through the door. "Open up," it said, sharp with intent. "I just want to talk." She didn't respond, her breath hitching. The banging intensified, the doorframe creaking, splinters of wood dusting the floor. Jenna's eyes darted to the window. The shadow was gone, but that didn't reassure her. Was he inside now, or were there two of them? The thought made her dizzy. She pictured the cabin's layout, mentally mapping an escape, but the woods were dark, the nearest neighbor miles away. The banging stopped, replaced by footsteps circling the living room. A glass clinked, the mug she'd left on the coffee table. Jenna's heart pounded so loud, she was sure it could be heard. The footsteps paused, then moved closer, stopping outside the bedroom door again. A soft tap, like a knuckle on wood. "I know you're in there," the voice said low, almost amused. Jenna's tears fell silently. She gripped the poker, ready to swing if the door gave way. The operator's voice was a faint hum. 5 minutes. A crash came from the living room, glass shattering, followed by shouts. "Police! Hands up!" Jenna sobbed, dropping the poker, her body shaking with relief. Flashlights swept through the cabin, their beams slicing under the door's gap. A scuffle, a yell, then silence. "Miss Harper," a voice called. "It's Officer Daniels. You're safe." Jenna moved the chair, her hands trembling, and opened the door. 3 officers stood in the living room, the front window shattered, glass glittering on the floor. They'd caught the man trying to flee through the back door. He'd been living in the woods, they said, squatting in abandoned cabins, watching this one for days after seeing Jenna's car. He pried open the bathroom window, its lock rusted and loose, and slipped inside, thinking the cabin was empty. They found a notebook in his bag, sketches of the cabin, her license plate, her name copied from the rental agreement left on the kitchen counter. Jenna left at dawn, her belongings thrown into her SUV. The lake's beauty was tainted, the woods a maze of unseen eyes. She drove back to Ann Arbor, the poker still in her passenger seat, and never rented a cabin again. The delivery man. The brownstone on Clinton Street was Mia's pride, a fixer-upper she'd bought after years of saving. Tucked in Brooklyn's bustling heart, it blended old-world charm, high ceilings, oak floors, with her modern touches, sleek furniture, smart lights, a security system she controlled from her phone. Mia, a freelance journalist, thrived on the city's energy, but she also cherished her home sanctuary. Tonight, though, the city felt too close, its noise seeping through the walls like an uninvited guest. She was sprawled on her couch, laptop open, editing an article on urban crime. It was 11 p.m., and the street outside buzzed with distant sirens and laughter from a nearby bar. She'd been distracted all day by a piece she'd read online. Real home invasion stories, one about a man posing as a delivery driver to gain entry, only to reveal darker intentions. The story had hit hard. Mia often ordered late-night takeout, and delivery men were a constant in her life. She double-checked her locks and armed the security system, but the unease lingered, a knot in her chest. A knock came at the front door. Mia's fingers froze on the keyboard. She wasn't expecting anyone. Her last delivery had arrived hours ago, Thai food now cold in the fridge. The knock came again, sharp and insistent. She stood, her heart quickening, and checked her phone's security app. The front door camera showed a man in a navy jacket, a cap pulled low, holding a small package. The logo on his jacket was blurry, unreadable. She squinted, zooming in. His face was shadowed, but his posture was tense, one hand in his pocket. "Hey," he called, voice muffled through the heavy door. "Delivery for Mia Torres. You home?" Mia's stomach twisted. She hadn't ordered anything, and the use of her full name felt wrong, too personal. She hesitated, remembering the article's warning about imposters. "Leave it on the stoop," she called back, her voice steadier than she felt. A pause. "Need a signature," he said, his tone flat. "It's urgent. Can you open the door?" Mia's pulse raced. She texted her friend Carlos, who lived a block away. "Guy at my door says he's got a delivery. Didn't order anything. Weird vibe." She opened the app again, checking the camera. The man was still there, shifting his weight, glancing down the street. She dialed 911, keeping her voice low. "There's a man at my door claiming he's a delivery guy," she whispered. "I didn't order anything, and he knows my name." "Address, please," the operator said. Mia gave it, her eyes locked on the camera feed. The man knocked again, harder. "Ma'am, it's just a quick signature. I'm on a tight schedule." "Officers are on the way," the operator said. "Can you secure the door?" "It's locked," Mia said, checking the deadbolt and chain. She backed away from the door, grabbing a chef's knife from the kitchen counter. The brownstone was narrow, with a front door, a back door to the garden, and windows she'd locked earlier. She moved to the living room, dimming the lights to avoid casting a silhouette against the curtains. The knocking stopped. Mia held her breath, watching the camera. The man stepped back, looking up at the brownstone, then walked out of frame. She switched to the side camera, but he was gone. Her phone buzzed. "Carlos, that's sketchy. I'm coming over. Stay safe." Relief flickered, but it was short-lived. A faint scrape came from the back door, like metal on wood. Mia's heart stopped. She whispered to the operator, "He's at the back door now." She crept to the kitchen, knife in hand, and checked the back door's lock secure, but the glass pane rattled slightly, old and loose. The article's story replayed. The fake delivery man who'd circled a house, testing entries, patient and relentless. The scraping grew louder, rhythmic, like a tool prying at the lock. Mia's phone showed the back camera, offline, just like the garage camera in the article's story. Her hand shook as she texted Carlos. "He's trying the back door. Hurry." The operator's voice was calm. "Officers are 10 minutes out. Stay hidden." 10 minutes. Mia's apartment was her fortress, but it felt like a cage now. She moved to the stairs, heading for the second-floor bedroom, the only room with a lock. The scraping stopped, replaced by a soft thud, like a foot testing the door. She reached the bedroom, locked the door, and pushed a bookcase against it, her arms straining. The room was small, with one window overlooking the garden. She drew the blinds, her heart pounding. A creak came from downstairs, unmistakable, floorboards underweight. Mia se bretiched. The back door's lock must have failed. She whispered to the operator. "He's inside. I hear him." "Stay quiet," the operator said. "Officers are 7 minutes away." Footsteps moved through the kitchen, slow and deliberate, pausing as if listening. Mia crouched by the bed, knife trembling in her hand. Her phone buzzed. "Carlos, I'm outside. Cops are here." Relief surged, but it was cut short by a soft knock at the bedroom door. "Mia," a voice said, low and calm. "I just need to talk." She didn't answer, her body rigid. The knob rattled, then stopped. A shadow moved under the door's gap, lingering. The article's warning echoed. Intruders who knew their targets, who planned their moves. Had he seen her name on a delivery slip, a mailbox? The thought made her dizzy. A crash downstairs, glass breaking, followed by shouts. "Police! Hands up!" Mia sobbed, clutching the knife. Flashlights swept through the house, and footsteps thundered. A scuffle, a yell, then silence. "Miss Torres," an officer called. "It's Officer Nguyen. You're safe." Mia moved the bookcase, her hands shaking, and opened the door. 3 officers stood downstairs, the back door open, glass shattered on the floor. They'd caught the man in the kitchen, holding a fake delivery package and a lockpick set. He'd been targeting brownstones in the area, they said, using stolen delivery records to learn names and addresses. Her name was on a list in his pocket, along with a map of her street. Mia stayed with Carlos that night, unable to face the brownstone. She installed new locks and cameras, but the sound of a knock never felt innocent again.